Hey, what's up, fellas? I'm Malicious Female Fan Steve Alicious here with something a little different. But before we get to all of that, thank you so much to all the new subscribers, ever so close to 4,400. If you're loving all the tech, both new and old, go ahead and give that subscribe button a tussle. It certainly means a lot to me. So let's say the year is 2009, and you look over at your friends using Android devices, specifically HTC, as we have the HTC Evo 3D in front of us here. Unfortunately, this one has a bad digitizer, so sometimes it's a bit of a pain to get open. But you see it's HTC Sense UI. You look at your friends with this, and you say, geez, I wish I could get that on Windows Phone. Well, in 2009, you were lucky with a quite interesting and important device. So, enter the HTC HD2 or the HTC Leo, depending on where. I think Leo was perhaps the code name. But you can see on the back, it even says with HTC Sense. So they made sure to highlight that, even though at first it had a different name. It was like Touch 3D UI or something weird. But then they just said, hey, let's just call it Sense UI since that's a huge selling point. So this is actually a Windows 6.5 professional device, Windows Mobile. So if you're thinking about the Windows Mobile devices of the past, they looked a heck of a lot more like this with the kind of Windows CE Pocket PC feel than they did something like this. And you can see right there, HTC Sense, Sense UI on a Windows Phone device. Really nice, works well, clean. If you didn't see the little start menu in the upper left-hand corner and the Windows logo down here, you wouldn't even know this is a Windows Phone, at least for the time. You know, later on they got a little bit more advanced, but for the time, this was something unique. First phone to feature a Snapdragon, I'm pretty sure the Snapdragon S1 in this, which made it the most powerful Windows Phone at the time, which is going to be a conversation in a moment as to why this never advanced beyond Windows 6.5. But there are some quirks to this thing. Really neat device. Half a gig of RAM in this, 480p display, even though it's named the HD2. That's fine. The display is nice. Nice contrast. You can see the colors are excellent on it. Some great built-in apps, which were fantastic for the time. Internet Explorer, everybody's favorite on Windows Phone. Built-in YouTube app, which I wanted to show you right away. Because think about 2009. If you were an iPhone user, even if you had some other devices at the time, this is not going to load up with any videos, but just look at the UI for this. Look at how nice this YouTube app is for 2009. That's something that you'd want, fairly soon. That's something you'd even probably take today in a lot of devices, but it was quite nice for then. So let's go across the bottom because it's not capacitive buttons like were common at the time. We're dealing with physical buttons. So right here you have your phone, make your call, home button, Windows button, all backlit, which is nice as you just saw, back button, and then end and power. So this is your lock button as well as your unlock, and then you go ahead and slide to unlock. So those 5 buttons at the bottom. Now, I don't know if it was something with HTC. I don't know if Microsoft just couldn't figure it out, if they were trying to help the Lumias. I don't know what went on here. But part of the reason that they labeled why this never got Windows 7 or Windows 8, even though it was one of the most capable Windows devices hardware-wise at the time, was because of, the battery's shot on it, by the way, so we're going to plug it in to make sure it lasts the rest of the video, was because of the 5 buttons at the bottom. So they only allowed for, they said, listen, whether this was nonsense or not, I don't know. But they said that because it had 5 buttons instead of the usual 3, whether they be capacitive or physical touch buttons, it couldn't handle Windows 7 and later, which, just makes some of them where they're not active or they don't do things. You map them to different things. But the fact that this had a Snapdragon S1, half a gig of RAM, pretty decent battery for the time, and a great screen, I think they missed out. I think if this were, I liked Windows Phone. Absolutely. I think it was great. I liked how simple it was, how well optimized it was, lightweight, so you didn't need a lot of power and battery. It functioned well, functions well even today. Would be a nice alternative, either as a skin, a different device. Imagine having competition in the Windows Phone marketplace. So you'd have people who would get the devices like this, great design, your Nokia Lumia 1020, running Windows 7, running Windows 8 going forward, but you have the nice designs, the cameras, and all the rest of it. But then somebody taking a different approach, like HTC, saying, hey, we have a Windows device as well that'll run your Windows Phone's apps and all the rest of it, but we're going to put Sense UI on it, give you more of that Android flavor. Windows Phone might still be a thing if this device were allowed to play a little bit more than it was. You might still be talking about, because you'd have people who want different. If you've got an Android, maybe you switch to this. You'd have more apps. You'd have a bigger user base. You'd have people still developing for Windows Phone. Better support. There could have been a lot of what ifs if this device were allowed to continue. But the cool part about this particular device is that this is a modder's dream. Because of the hardware in it, and because you could get Android to run on a Snapdragon S1, this had every Android version all the way up until, I believe, 8. Android 8 people had put this on. And not only that, people have modded it to run Windows 7, Windows 8, a version of Windows RT can be run on this. So a fantastic little device. These can be had for $35 on eBay. So if you're a hobbyist, if you're someone that just likes tinkering with operating systems, getting old phones to work in new ways, stuff like that, if someone who puts Ubuntu Touch on devices, this might be something that you'd look at. I'm pretty sure it's a distro for the HD2, the Leo. Really cool device from that standpoint. And just different to see another reality that could have been for Windows Mobile. And the really cool thing is when I had this phone off and it was in direct light, you can't really see it. This is a capacitive touch display. Okay, so you can do multi-touch and all the rest of it, pinch and zoom and everything's fine. If you look at it in just the right light, which is tough to get on camera, I could barely get it in person that way more than a couple times. If you look at it with light directly on it at an angle, you'll see a grid pattern, much like you would on a resistive touch device. The reason for that being is because this was Windows 6.5, and because a lot of the apps for Windows 6.5 were proper ancient, designed to run on like 700s and stuff like that, it could have a stylus. There was a stylus support meant for this device, and it runs on those ones. I'll put a picture up. It runs on those ones you could use on your iPad and stuff like that, but it would, to allow precision on menus and radio buttons and stuff like that for Windows 6.5 devices, which were properly old at this point. So this was the absolute transition point between old Pocket PC Windows and the newer Windows 7, 7.5, 8, 8.1, all the rest of it, as far as the Windows Mobile's concerned. So you got 5 megapixel shooter on the back, dual LED flash, which is quite nice. This is removable, so you just go ahead and pop that off. You got removable battery, you could do that. Expandable storage, your SIM card right there. But overall, just a neat, well-built device. It feels like those Android devices at the time. It feels like your HTC Evos. It's got that same kind of weight feel, kind of the rubber and then the metal feels, quality, premium build. The buttons are awesome. The screen is great. It's fantastic to see. This UI, just look at this UI on a Windows phone. Hit the home button there for if it'll actually work. Oh, it's not. It's gonna give me problems because it's plugged in and it's low on battery and all the rest of it. But check that out. You had your YouTube, Office Mobile, Google Maps, Facebook, Opera browser, which still works just fine. You had turn-by-turn navigation. You had your Twitter app in here, standard. You had the Marketplace, which you can't connect to anymore. Pictures weren't bad for the time. They're not worth showing, but they were fine for what they were. But just an overall, relatively thin bezels for the time as well. Just a really, really cool device that could be picked up still in 2020, 2021 relatively cheap. If you're somebody who likes putting Android on something like this, if you want to upgrade this to Windows 8, which I think would be pretty cool. Android 8 running on this would be nice. Full version of Windows RT running on this, pretty cool. Go ahead, eBay, pick one up. But overall, just a really interesting device from that time period that you were coming from those older apps, older designs into the new, into capacitive touchscreens and all the rest in different form factors. And when Windows Phone was still kind of finding its way. And so this is a like I said, an alternative reality of what may have been had Windows Phone kept going on multiple different platforms and had competition and different skins and different looks. I don't know. It looks pretty cool to me. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-alicious day.